What is up, RC enthusiasts? You guys know that I love playing in water for sure with my RCs, and a lot of people say, don't do that, it ruins your RCs, and yes, I definitely agree with them. There's nothing I don't agree with that. It definitely does ruin your RCs faster. But if you do like playing in water and mud and stuff like I do, just do your maintenance and everything will be alright. So on today's video, I'm finally over not being able to play with my brushless TRX4m right here in water, and I want to definitely dunk this thing in water pretty soon. So let's waterproof this guy. So if you guys are new to my channel or you've never seen this mod before, this is my TRX4m that has the Stinger brushless motor and ESC combo from Furitek. And I'm not sure if everyone knows that a TRX4m comes waterproof out the box, and it has bushings for that reason, and that's why I think they ship them with bushings, because they know a couple of people like me are going to go out there and try to ruin these things, and the bushings are definitely going to be less maintenance for guys like me. Not to say that you can't put sealed bearings in here and just, do your after water run maintenance on them, and they'll be good as well. Right here I'm just showing you guys a little bit of my setup. I have my receiver down here where the old ESC used to sit, and it just fits in there perfectly as well. And then the Bluetooth module and the ESC from the Furitek are just double-sided tape on top of it. And that's been working out for me really well. It makes it look really nice. Everything's pretty clean. My wires are pretty clean on this guy. And I like the setup. So now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to remove this. So it's just pretty much just prying it up, getting it off the double-sided tape. Obviously unplugging the brushless motor from it and the Bluetooth module from it. And then I'm going to have to slice this open right here, which is going to break my heart because I really don't want to do this, and I wish it was just waterproof out the box. And I know this is probably going to ruin some sort of warranty or something, so guys, do this at your own risk. And if you're going to do it, at least be very meticulous about how you're covering it and do a really good job, because you don't want to risk ruining this ESC. It's not cheap, and it's definitely going to hurt if it just stops working on you once you hit the water. Now you can actually leave them plugged in and then plasti dip over them, which I think I might do actually, because that will make them more waterproof, because I don't really need to unplug any of these ever really. It's a Bluetooth module, or all these black wires right here go straight to the Bluetooth module, and this one right here goes straight to your receiver. Now I'm going to take off this QC sticker right here so that I can get more coverage underneath that. Man, whoever the quality control guy is over there, he put that sticker on there really well. It was hard to get off. It came off in thousands of tiny pieces, and look at the one stuck on my finger still. I'm going to waterproof in here. Every single section I can see metal, I'm going to waterproof it so that it doesn't corrode. Because I'm going to be using this connector anyway, the stock battery. And if you guys are wondering, this Hobby Porter receiver right here is waterproof out the box. And it even has a gyro in it. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty complicated waterproof receiver right there. Now for my waterproofing, I like to use plasti dip. You guys can use whatever you want, as long as you're comfortable with it. Liquid electric tape, conformal coating, whatever you want to use. But this is what I've been using successfully for a long time. I'm going to give you guys a little tip on how to make this one work well. And the reason I like to use the spray version versus the dip version, that you actually open the can and just dip stuff in there, so I think this one right here is a lot more liquidy, so it gets in between stuff better and waterproofs a little bit better. Here's a little example piece I have for you guys right here. You can see if you don't waterproof it well and you kind of do it like this texture, see this texture, the way it ends up like that, if you notice your waterproofing ended up drying like this, I would go ahead and put like another layer or two on top of that, because that's usually pretty porous. As you can tell, I just opened up a little hole right there by pulling it apart. So that will end up failing on you, and then you'll leak. But if you get it more to like this texture when it's dried, then you'll be pretty good. Just keep on layering it up, and if it ends up like this, then you can tell there's, very little pores that can, especially if I don't stretch it that much. If I just leave it where it's at, you're not going to get water ingress in there. So the more layers, the better. So I normally like to use just a toothpick and the cap of the plasti dip. Shake the plasti dip well, and then spray it in the cap. I don't have that much left in this can, but there's still enough to do this job. And if you look really closely, I'm not sure if you can tell in my video because it's not bright enough in there. It's bubbling up right now. So you can tell the very bottom corner right here, I think you can see the bubbles. So what I do is I let it sit, just make sure it's tipped over like this so you're not wasting plasti dip by coating the whole thing. So let it sit tipped over like this for a little bit until you notice the bubbles aren't really popping up anymore and it's pretty much bubble free. So that way you don't get that bubbling when it dries up. And then you'll be good to go. So now I'm just trying to figure out a way to keep this flat on there. Now all you have to do is just get your toothpick and some Plasti Dip. And then Plasti Dip the board. I like to go to the chips first so it can seep in between the chips. So you can see right the way I'm doing it right there. Go to all the chips, let it seep on all the solder points. And then once it dries, you're going to do the other side and then also the sides of the board. So this side's right here, the exposed sides, you want to do that too because water can ingress through there. There's no turning back now once I've done this, right? This is a waterproofing of a Furitek Stinger combo or whatever ESC this is. Lizard Pro? I'm not sure. So, you know, the reason I do it this way is because I can get a drop at a time on there and I don't overdo it. So I don't, if I see it trying to run off the side, that's not good. I don't want it to run off the sides. I want it to all dry up here. Let me see if I can not ruin this job right here. Oops. You can see I missed the spot right over here. So you know, that's gonna take some time to dry. I'm gonna let that dry, then do the other side, let that dry, and then I'll get the Bluetooth module done, let that dry, and once it all dries, I'm gonna recoat it again. You guys can tell right there, the Plasti Dip is still bubbling and popping. That's why I like to use the spray-on one, because it's liquidy and it lets it do that for a while, and it actually smoothens out and lets all the air bubbles that are trapped out there, and it gets underneath all the chips. So I just go up to every bubble, pop them like so. And those are all the air trapped underneath the chips, you know, escaping and being replaced by Plasti Dip, and that will make your waterproofing even better. Now don't let it trick you, make sure to get that all the way through to make sure you see everything coated and it's flowing through everywhere, because if it's not flowing through the backside right here, then you're going to have open gaps for water to get in. Look at that waterproofing right there, as you can tell. It kind of pulled in that area right there. It's not completely waterproofed right there. You still see red. So when it dries, it shrinks a little bit. So when you see stuff like that, then you're going to have to check the whole board to make sure it doesn't have any of that. Yes, I know it's tedious, but this is what I use. Like I said, you could use whatever method you like using. This is my method, and it's done good for me. As you can tell, I got a little, there's like a little hole right there. So another layer for this guy for sure. And as you can tell, I also have the Bluetooth right there. I hope I didn't damage it because a lot of Plasti Dip went inside this little hole right here on the Bluetooth module. There's my second coat. And when that dries, it should be good. Always inspect it though, make sure you did a good job. Because, you know, like I said, there's only one chance to do this right. Once you get this in water and it's not done right, it's over for this guy. So this is my final mounting style right here. As you can tell, I used minimalistic style of mounting right here. Just the back end right there has some double-sided tape to it. You see I left a gap right there for the front part because I see there's a lot of chips right there that I covered in Plasti Dip. And I want to be able to dissipate heat a lot better, so I'm not just, you know, putting this whole thing on double-sided tape. I'm just trying to get it on there secure. This is some pretty strong double-sided tape, so it should hold it on there pretty well. And I have the Bluetooth module in the same spot. That's it for that installation right there. That should be good enough to keep this guy going. Alright, turn on my transmitter. Plug it in. And everything should work. But yeah, I don't know how conductive Plasti Dip is when it's wet. So I just let it dry completely until it's just the rubber part left and no more liquid or whatever that's keeping it, you know, in the liquid form. And now it's good to go. Now let's go ahead and make sure everything runs. Alright, everything works. Good to go. Good to play in some mud and some water. You might want to find a way to enclose this motor somehow. You know, it is an outrunner motor, so you're going to have to figure out something to kind of go around it and not touch it and still make it breathable so the motor doesn't overheat and stuff. And maybe something you could put on when you're going to play in like water and stuff and you can just pop off, you know, something you can 3D print. I'm not sure. There's people out there that are talented enough to make stuff like that. Me, I'm probably just going to get a piece of plastic and probably just, you know, melt it until it fits around this and then use like a sock or some mesh or something to cut some holes around that plastic piece and just put like little vent areas around it, so that way only clean water can go in and out of there, and it should be fine in clean water. There should be no issue with this motor running in clean water. But there you guys go. TRX4m, brushless, waterproof now. And obviously if you paid for the other brushless system from Furitek, or the brushless ESC that's in the case that's waterproof already, then you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. I'm not planning on submerging this truck at all completely, all the way to the motor most of the time. You know, maybe once or twice you'll see it just for the video. I'll show you guys that you can submerge that completely. I'll put the full truck underwater. But for my normal, just crawling around daily use and stuff, I'm just waterproofing it to stay safe in the rain, because when I do go camping and stuff like that, I do mess around with my crawlers and stuff, you know, when it's drizzling and it's raining, and fun to mess around in that stuff, unfortunately. So like I said, if you're gonna do that kind of stuff, if you ever watched any of my water after run videos where I tell people, when you're done running in water, always make sure to try to run your RC somewhere dry for a while, or you know, you have a transmitter like mine right here where you can just set the throttle and then press the cruise control button. Let it run like that for, you know, a minute or two. Things will get warm, things will get hot, liquid will dry up, and hopefully everything easier to dry up afterwards. But if you're at home and you have a compressor, you have some form of way to get, you know, the air out of there, maybe like one of those canned air compressors or whatever. If you don't have a compressor, just a canned air for your keyboards and stuff like that. Just get it around all the bearings, you know, just try to get into the bearing areas right here, blow that all out and stuff, and just try to get as much water off of it as you can. Well, alright guys, thanks for watching as usual. And as always, stay safe out there, have fun, and go run that RC.